Tonight, 5 Investigates uncovers police in Minnesota grappling with how to use powerful and controversial new tools to solve crimes.
At least one tech company is giving detectives access to a trove of personal information from your phone, even if you're not a suspect. But investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen found departments are split over how and when to use the tactic that's now being challenged in federal court.
Until recently, police first needed a suspect before they could go get a warrant to track that person's phone. Now they're using a digital dragnet to attempt to identify every phone that happened to be at or near a crime scene. While some departments are reserving that tool for cold cases, we found at least 2 in the metro frequently sweeping up sensitive personal phone data, even for crimes like burglaries. In just over a minute in the middle of the night,
It was really bad.
these 3 burglars took store owner Sari Flyja for thousands.
I was really angry, upset.
Cameras at his tobacco shop in Eden Prairie did little to identify the criminals wearing hoodies and gloves. A shoe print on the counter, the only evidence left behind. But 5 Investigates has learned detectives were counting on Google to tell them everything they needed to know. With no leads and no suspects, a judge signed a warrant in November ordering the tech giant to give up the minute-by-minute location of every phone in the area that was connected to Google services, including the ever-popular Google Maps.
Just like biological or physical evidence.
But when we sat down with Eden Prairie Police, they were reluctant to talk about their new investigative tool.
So look down and read is okay? Okay.
Reading from a prepared statement
Digital evidence is often stored on personal devices.
when we press for answers.
And this is just one of the methods that we're able to obtain that evidence.
I mean, is this becoming one of the most important witnesses at just about every crime scene? Privacy advocates are also asking questions about the explosion of similar search warrants filed in Minnesota and across the country.
Should police be able to cast a dragnet sweeping in information about lots of totally innocent bystanders in an attempt to find one unknown suspect?
Google recently revealed it saw a 1-year 500% increase in those requests from police known as reverse location or geofence search warrants. 5 Investigates tracked more than 40 of those warrants filed in Hennepin and Ramsey counties last year, up from just a handful the year before. The largest department, Minneapolis, used the tactic only twice. There was no record of St. Paul PD using it at all. Instead, we found nearly half of the geofence warrants filed by 2 smaller departments, Eden Prairie and Brooklyn Park Police.
Yes, we're kind of casting a net, but the net is very small and specific.
Brooklyn Park Deputy Chief Mark Bruley says getting information from Google can take months, and it has to be approved by a judge.
I think there's checks and balances there that ensure that this tool is used in a way that's interests public safety without treading on the rights of people.
Our cell phones are so good at tracking us because they're constantly checking in with every cell tower, Wi-Fi router, and Bluetooth device around us. And here's how a geofence warrant works. Investigators first draw a boundary around the crime scene and select a specific window of time. Google then provides the real-time movements of every cell phone, each labeled with an anonymous ID number going in and out of that zone. What if that ropes in a church or an AA meeting or a doctor's office?
Yes, so 2 answers I would have for you. One is that's why we should narrow it down as much as possible. We're not getting people's identity. We're not getting people's bank accounts. We're not getting people's names.
But we found they can and they have.
When the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office investigated a middle-of-the-day shooting in this Holiday Inn Express parking lot here in Golden Valley last year, detectives said they believed there could be at least 4 suspects. But we found they still got a warrant for Google to give up the real names and personal information of 19 people who were linked to phones that were in this area at the time.
We tried to ask how that might invade the privacy of innocent bystanders, but the sheriff's office declined to comment, citing an active investigation. Does that raise questions for you?
It absolutely does, and that's part of the reason that I'm skeptical of this back and forth process between the company and police.
Nate Fried-Wessler is a staff attorney with the ACLU Speech Privacy and Technology Project in New York.
What we have here is an investigative power that has never existed in the history of humanity.
Wessler and others now closely following a federal bank robbery case out of Virginia. When surveillance images didn't immediately lead to a suspect, investigators narrowed down Google location history from 19 phones to eventually charge this man, Okello Chatri, with the crime. In a first-of-its-kind motion to throw out that evidence, Chatri's lawyers called it a modern-day incarnation of a general warrant prohibited by the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unlawful search and seizure.
For example, a piece of paper that purports to allow police to bust down every door in a neighborhood looking for a particular suspect.
It is not lost on us that there is a privacy concern here.
Crystal's Deputy Police Chief Brian Hubbard says those privacy concerns are at least part of why his department has only filed 2 geofence warrants so far.
And so we have to weigh that against the public good of we have crimes to solve.
None of the 17 agencies we contacted reported having a policy on geofence warrants, and we found several departments using the controversial tool for nonviolent crimes, including burglaries, theft, and fraud. Some police we spoke to compared the high-tech tactic to traditional canvassing.
If we had, a major crime out in the street, we'll knock on every door in that street, talk to all the neighbors about what they've seen, what they,
But doesn't knocking on the door stop short of going into somebody's pocket and seeing their phone?
Yeah, and and I think that's why we're here today. This is tools of the 21st century. This is a change.
This is a good step, honestly.
Sorry Flyja says he just wants the people who broke into his store to be caught.
If you didn't do anything wrong, I don't think you have to worry about anything.
Now, just this week, Eden Prairie Police told us they inactivated the case of that tobacco shop burglary due to a, quote, lack of suspect information, even though they say they did get at least some information from Google. Now, the company has not responded to any of our requests for comment, but in that Virginia bank robbery case, Google said location history information provides a, quote, intimate window into a person's life, letting the government travel back in time to track where they go.
Eric, let me ask you, is there a way we can control how much information we're sharing with Google?
Jackie, there is to an extent, and the controls are slightly different whether you have an Android phone or you're using an iPhone, but we have included some more tips on KSTP.com to walk you through what you need to do if you want to try to reduce how much you're sharing.
Definitely good information. Fascinating story here, Eric. Thank you.